Hi everyone, welcome to a new edition of my podcast, Show Me the Magic, where I invite founders or co-founders of products that I stumble upon on the open web and that I find interesting enough to showcase them in this podcast. And today I have the pleasure to welcome from Amsterdam on the other side of the channel, Kilian Valkhof. Is it right, the way I
Yeah,
pronounce your name?
that's
You're from
me.
Amsterdam and you are the founder, I think the solo founder, if I'm
That's
right,
right.
of a product called polypane.app. We talk a bit more about the context, how I met you or how I came across the product. That's the first time we meet, actually, in a moment. But first, thank you for joining me. You responded immediately to my email. Do you receive a lot of solicitations for podcasts, or is it?
I do, but I've gotten pretty good at filtering out the ones that are real versus the ones that just get sent to
Okay.
thousands of people at once.
Or maybe to sell you something, to sell you a paid podcast or a premium appearance or something like that. That can happen also, I guess.
That happens as well, yeah.
Yeah. No, here it's free. You won't receive any bill after the podcast.
Thank you.
As I said, I picked the product because when I opened the landing page, it really attracted my attention straight away. I will tell you a bit more about what I'm doing also in a moment. But first, I wanted to know a bit more about you and the journey that has brought you to this product. So what have you done so far in your life for a living?
Yeah, I'm Kilian from the Netherlands. I'm 37 years old. I, like probably many other people in similar roles, built my first website when I was 11. Then I went on to start a web agency when I was 16, which wasn't like a super well thought out or intentional business. It was just the general idea that me and a couple of friends liked building websites. Maybe we can get other people to pay us money to build websites for them. And that worked.
What was that in the early days? Was it WordPress? Was it
Uh,
something like that?
we did some WordPress, and then we very quickly switched over to first PHP with Symfony. We built our own CMS on Symfony, and then we switched over to Django on
Okay.
Python.
Yeah, Python. Yeah, I'm using Flask for my project, so it's also another Python framework.
Yeah, Flask is nice as well. The reason we picked Django is because it had a very large ecosystem of packages for things like CMS or maps or sitemaps or anything you can think of. So that made it easier for us to offer like well-rounded websites and web applications. So I ran that company for 14 years. We grew to 15 people. And by that time, I basically built all the websites I wanted to build.
Uh-huh.
And there wasn't a lot to gain for me there anymore or a lot to learn. When we started in 2005, there was no iPhone, there was no iPad, responsive design wasn't coined yet. So I went through quite a few different iterations of the web, as it were. And then in 2015, I built the first prototype of what would become Polypane.
Okay, so it's been around for roughly 10 years now.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very old in a way. But yeah, so I've always been building tools to help me with my workflow, with my processes, to compensate for things I'm not so good at. So computers can help a lot there, automating things. And this was just one in a long line of products. And the main issue I wanted to solve was that with the advent of responsive design a few years before that, it started to feel really dumb to resize my browser like all day, every day, because that's not valuable work. That's not interesting work. That's not building something. That's just like managing the computer in order to do your work. And that's something I get very annoyed by if I have to manage like the magic machine in front of me. Then I want a solution for that because that like the magic machine can do that for me. That's why it's the magic machine, and I want to focus on what I want to build. So that just stayed on the back burner for a couple of years. I used it for myself. Didn't really think of it as a product or anything. It was just like a tool I have. Until one day I compared my hours with polypane and without polypane. And it turned out that the same type of projects I was running 60% faster with polypane. So that made me realize, well, actually, like this isn't just a small tool to help me fix annoyance, but it is a major productivity boost. And more people could benefit from that. So in 2019, I left my web agency, I divested from it, and I went all in on polypane.
When you started, did you have any community already? Did any early traction with the product? Or
Yeah. So what I had done in 2017 is I released a free public beta that I just released whatever I had to gather feedback, and that built up to like a mailing list of like 3,000 people. So when I got ready to launch, I had at least 3,000 interested people to show polypane to.
how was the conversion of those 3,000 people when you told them now there is a product, you can try
Now,
it, and
now
maybe
you have
you
to
can give
pay
me a
for
few
it.
cents to use it? How
Yeah.
was it?
Well, so that's been difficult because selling to developers is really difficult. Like the majority of those 3,000 people just signed up to check it out, not necessarily with the intention of using it full time. And it's really after that first initial launch that it just started slowly like snowballing into what it is today with feedback from users, features I've added, other focus areas that I didn't have when I first launched. So when I first launched, it was really just responsive design, but now, which is like different screen sizes, but now it's also device emulation. It's also accessibility tooling. It's things like website quality, meta information. So all the stuff on your page that you don't see in a browser, but that's still pretty important for like the overall quality, performance aspects, etc. So it's a much more well-rounded tool now 6 years later.
And how has been the evolution of the user base since the official launch 6 years ago? Can you give a rough idea of how many people in the world are using the product at the moment?
I don't really give exact numbers, but it's tens of thousands.
I would say, what is your main channel now to advocate the product, to promote it to the developer community?
So for me, SEO is very important. And it's very important because it works well, and it works well because I enjoy writing articles. And the type of articles I like to write are ones that do very well in search engines for a very long time. And that has now been slowly switching over to ChatGPT optimization, or however you want to call it. In that, ChatGPT also just parses websites and then regurgitates them. And, my website having so much information, polypane frequently ends up in suggestions that ChatGPT gives. So right now, about 4% of my website visitors are directly from ChatGPT. And then things like Claude and Perplexity and KG and others are a much smaller percentage because they don't link out as much yet. But it's interesting seeing that like slowly grow.
I'm still trying to figure out whether it's about optimizing for brand mention and all for traffic, because you also have a lot of answers where you would be quoted as, let's say, the solution for a specific problem, but then people will have potentially to type and go and navigate to the website, not necessarily clicking on a link.
Yeah.
So it's also about brand mention, I guess, to appear in the as an authority when people are searching for something.
4% is just people that have clicked links that have ChatGPT as a referrer,
which is pretty cool. Already,
it's very high compared to what I would expect at this point in time.
And are you doing anything specific for the LLMs, or is it just the quality of the content that brings people in?
Yeah, so I've also never really done anything specifically for search engine optimization. Like I am too lazy to do like keyword research or figure out how to build a content strategy around that. I just write about stuff that's interesting to me and then hope that that's also interesting to people like me. And usually that works. And then whenever I try to get too clever, that's usually when it doesn't work. That's how it goes.
Like for any B2C, I mean, direct to market product, if you try to be to outsmart people, it usually never
works. So I just try to write stuff that I would want to read, and hope that also counts for. That's also the case for other people.
And what are you known for on the open web in terms of intent? Something to allow people to see their creations while they're developing them in a responsive way, or also all the debugging part, the emulation part? What is your main authority for, I would say?
So I think it's a combination of breadth of knowledge on web development, and that being part of the application. So when using the application, you have a tool that deeply understands the type of work you do, and that comes through in, for example, the level of emulation that Polypane can do, which is significantly higher than other browsers. It's noticeable in the amount of options you have and the ease with which you can get to those options and switch out those options, and really see your websites from every possible angle
and see it straight away. We'll have a look in a moment at the actual app, but that was what attracted me on the landing page above the fold when I opened it, was to see all those different panes for the different aspect ratios, so from mobile, tablet to desktop, laptop, and desktop, so in a single view. That was the cool thing. We'll have a look at that in a moment.
Yeah, so that's like that was the initial thing I built Polypane for, which is why can't I see my website at a bunch of different screen sizes simultaneously? Because I need to develop for all of them and not just one at a time. And it turns out that if you do that and you're building a feature for example, the desktop size, you're focusing on that right now, but you accidentally break something on the mobile size with that CSS that you just wrote or that JavaScript that has some faulty assumption, in Polypane, you instantly see that. And if you instantly see an issue, it's trivial to fix because that's literally what you're working on at that moment. Whereas if you only ever see one size and it works there, and now you think you're done with that feature, and then you go and check all the other sizes, suddenly it takes much longer to figure out, oh wait, why is this happening? How is this happening? Compared to Polypane, where you change a line, you save it, the thing breaks, you know exactly that's the line causing the issue. But of course, there's much more than screen sizes. There's also like light and dark modes. There's being logged in or logged out. There's having slow internet or fast internet. There's all these different ways that people can experience your website that you probably should care about, but that are pretty hard to test for, test for all of them.
Yeah, I also
So
read
that's what I really focus on.
color blindness and people even with cataract issues. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I read in the description. So yeah.
Yeah.
And just to tell the audience how I came across polypane, I found I think it was a post by Andrew Davis working at Paddle, who was announcing the Paddle Launchpad Demo Day, which will take place on August the 7th. So that is next week. We will publish this podcast straight away, so it will still be next week. So you can you can sign up to actually watch this final. You are one of the 5 companies selected for the final of the Paddle Launchpad. So I
Yeah.
presume you are using Paddle for billing.
Yeah, I have since I started. Yeah.
Yeah, which is a cool way to manage all your tax compliance all over the world, and especially in Europe where it can be tricky. So I can advise people to have a look at Paddle. So you can sign up on Paddle's website to watch the demo, and you will see a short version of what we will have together today for this final. So I would suggest that we open Polypane to see what we can enjoy in your app. So just we look now at the screen. It's a browser, and something which also attracted me, interestingly, to the product is that we're talking a lot about browsers these days. You have new browsers being launched. It's been a while since people actually ventured into the world of creating new browsers. I'm using, for instance, I tested Dia. There is Comet by Perplexity. I'm still on the waiting list. So browsers now are a thing again, and we see new browsers being launched and trying to compete with Chrome. So this is not a browser for to compete with Dia or to compete with Comet or with Chrome. This is a browser made for developers, and which helps you as a developer to increase your productivity by orders of magnitude. It brings a lot of value, I can already say, for the price tag that it has. Just less than £100 per year if you take the individual plan to get Polypane. So if you build your hours at, let's say, anything between 75 to 150 an hour, it's worth it. It's worth it. You will see in the demo what you can do with it. So I encourage you to go to polypane.app already to sign up for the trial. It's a 14-day trial. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can
Okay.
use it for 2 weeks. There's no feature gating or whatever. It's just like the app, and you can use all of it, even the parts that make people go, "Wait, I can use this for free." Yeah. It's all in there. You can try the full thing for 14 days.
And I've already fixed a few things in a landing page I was creating just before the call, using Polypane. I will maybe tell you later
That happens to
what I fixed.
almost everyone.
Yeah. It was mainly around metadata that wasn't there. So yeah, but fully made sense. So let's dive in and show me the magic. Show me how it works.
Yeah. So when you first launch Polypane, this is what you see. There's a quick start, and that quick start is visible in 3 different screen sizes. Why these 3? It's because these are the ones that I like to work on. So now everyone gets to use those. But if you disagree, then it's as easy as dragging one out or adding another pane and picking one of the, I think, 40 or so different device presets that we have. From the newest iPhone to like Apple Watches or desktops at 4K. They're all there. They're fully emulated, so they act as if they are an iPhone. They act as if they are a Galaxy device. They do always use the Chromium rendering engine, so it's the same as Chrome. That does mean that if you have an iOS-specific bug, you will need Safari for that, but we have a solution for that as well, which we can get to in a bit.
Okay.
Now, as you see these three screens, I can do anything in any of them. Like I can scroll in the middle one, or I can click in one, or I can even hover in one. And it happens in all the different screen sizes. So that means that when you're testing or inspecting or auditing a page, you only have to do that once to test across all the device sizes you care about.
You can, for instance, log in into a website and will log in 3 times or 4 times or 5 times.
Yeah. And that way you can test that like your error handling works properly at all screen sizes, that your error message is readable on both a mobile phone and a 4K screen, if that's what you care about. And it's not just those screen sizes. Like I said earlier, for example, if you also have a dark mode, you can say, well, I want one of these 3 screens, or panes, as we call them in Polypane. I want one of these 3 panes to be in dark mode. So what you can now do is test your light and dark mode side by side without having to change your entire browser or without having to change your entire OS even. So as you can see, I prefer light mode. But now I can still test dark mode in my browser while still having the rest of my UI in light mode, which I prefer. There's another feature, and do stop me if we go into too much detail, because Polypane is a tool for professionals, and that means that there is an extreme amount of detail to everything. Polypane can also emulate the automatic dark theme that exists in, for example, Chrome on Android, which creates a dark theme from your light theme. So this is what happens when you tell Chrome on Android to show a website in dark mode, but it doesn't supply a dark mode of itself. Now, why would you want to see this in Polypane? Because here now Chrome is making judgments and making changes on your behalf. And those might be wrong. You might have colors that are wrong. You might have images that now suddenly look very, very bad that you want to compensate for. Even if you're not ready to build a full dark mode, this can let you sort of tweak things here and there to make sure that it's still decent. And then if we go back to this settings panel, you can see how easy it was for me to switch to dark mode, to switch to automatic dark theme. There's a bunch of other options that you can also emulate. Reduce motion is a very important one for accessibility. But you can also test forced colors, which is 1 in 25 people on Windows use forced color mode. What forced color mode does is it gets rid of all the colors except for the ones that a user chose. So basically a Windows user says, these are the 5 colors that I care about. Backgrounds are always white, text is always black, links are always blue, and buttons are always red, for example. And your browser then just applies that to your website.
I didn't even know it existed, so I learned something today.
Yeah. And so what then becomes important, as you can see, if you compare these two, here, all my blocks are nicely delineated by a tasteful drop shadow. But drop shadows get hidden because of that forced color mode. So they are completely missing here. And you can see that I've thought about this for the buttons, because the buttons have a border. That means they are still clearly buttons. But all the other blocks now are suddenly just floating text. So what I should have done is, for example, add an outline here. And I can have that outline be transparent. And then it won't show up for people that just see the website normally. But what forced color mode does is it switches that transparent color out for the color the user specified for outlines. And now suddenly all these blocks will have borders around them. So that would be an improvement that I can now make because I've now seen the results of this forced color mode.
And I saw in your demo on YouTube that you can add other panes if you want. So you have three
Yeah,
panes by default, but if you click between the columns, you can add
yeah,
another one. Makes
yeah.
sense.
So it's while you start with 3, I want to make it as easy as possible for users to like quickly add one, delete one, resize one, as I just showed you with this one. So it's meant to be dynamic. Like you're working on something and you're like, oh wait, let me also check that it works properly on an iPhone 12 because we got a bug report on that and I need to make sure that it works there. So I'll add it. And when I'm done with it, I'll just close it again because I no longer need it. But it's really meant to be like as smooth as possible. It doesn't need a lot of management because, that's what the computer should be doing. If I want to test an additional size, I can just double click or press Command N or right click and select add new pane, or there's even a button you can add if you prefer clicking things. So again, like there's, as in any like power tool, there's multiple ways to do things. There's even a command bar. So I can say, I want an iPhone 16 as well. And now it's added that iPhone 16 for me. So
And for,
there's,
for people who follow us, who watch this and haven't ever developed anything, the
yeah.
alternative to something like Polypane would be to resize your browser window to see responsively how the website
Yeah.
behaves, or go to the inspect tool, the dev console, and then you can pick one of the devices. But from what I've also experienced, sometimes it doesn't really render the device the way it should be, so
Yeah.
it's not that reliable. The usual inspect tool in the console, and also
Yeah.
if you start zooming in, zooming out, it will just mess everything. So so just this part of the product, seeing your website on a mobile phone, on a tablet, and on a laptop / desktop, it's already very valuable. But as we said, you also have access to the metadata of the page. So can you show us that
Yeah, sure.
metadata
So
part?
in Polypane, there's a bunch of different tools. Most of them are in a side panel, which you can open by clicking this panel button. You can add it to the right or to the bottom or to the left, or you can even open it in its own window. So again, like the way you want to work, you get to choose. But I like it on the right, so we'll leave it here. It by default opens on the meta site information panel, and I'll drag that a little wider. So what this does is it parses your entire page, and it gets things like the favicon you use, or the title, the description, things like the doc type and the viewport, things like your open graph tags or your link tags or your Twitter tags. And it parses them, and if it finds any issues, it will warn you about those. And it won't just warn you about those, but it will also try to suggest remediation. So that, you're not just being told that you're doing it wrong, you're also given the solution or given a suggestion, which is what I think a lot of tools miss, in that you get this huge list of things you did wrong, and now it's, go Google and figure out which of 5 different ways is the correct way to solve this issue. Where, realistically, if you're a developer, you're always working against a deadline. This might not be something your PM understands or cares about, but it's still a quality aspect of your website, and you want to do a good job. So why not have the browser tell you, actually, you can solve it this way, and then it works well, and you can carry on and finish the ticket and make the deadline and know that you didn't like drop the ball on anything.
When I tested it, as I said, the meta description of my page was missing, and I think that I could click on the area and copy like the basic tag that then I could potentially use. I wanted to ask you something, because let's say you've got 5 or 6 missing elements. Is there a way to copy in one go the report of the missing elements, so that you can, for instance, throw them into your vibe coding tool and say, okay, I've got all of that missing, just now ask the agent to fix it?
There isn't, but that is a good idea. So I'll add that to the backlog.
Yeah, just at the top of the panel, like something to just, copy all the issues.
Yeah.
And then you ask the agent, just fix that.
Yeah,
because
makes sense.
That's what you can do today.
All this information is also used by social media to create rich preview cards. So I have reverse engineered every social media platform there is to figure out which specific parts they use. So, Facebook will use the Open Graph tags, and then Twitter will use the Twitter tags, except both of them will also use the other one if their own one is missing. But then things like LinkedIn only use Open Graph. So you might be testing on Twitter and seeing your image and title, etc., in your rich preview and thinking and calling it a day, thinking, it works, so it'll work everywhere. Unfortunately, that's not the case. But if you test it in Polypane, then I've done all the dumb work of figuring out which social media tool wants which property. And then I create pixel perfect previews for you for all of them. So there's like Blue Sky, Mastodon, LinkedIn, Slack, Facebook, Google search results, X, Discord, Telegram, and Threads.
That's very useful, because otherwise, if you forget it, you've got to repass via the debugger of Facebook.
Yeah, and you'll have to know the tricks for each one of them to clear their cache, etc. And then, of course, all these platforms also have a dark mode. So we have the proper design for both light and dark mode.
Yeah, that's really,
and
that's
then
very nice.
If there's one you don't like, you can just hide it. And now it's gone. And if there's one you care about a lot, like say, Discord is the one I care about most, you can just reorder it and have that always be on top.
Nice. And another question about the main screen of Polypane. Is there an easy way, if you're a developer, to export, let's say, a PNG to send to your client and say, oh, this is how the website looks on 3 different devices?
Yeah. So screenshotting is another one of those over-engineered parts of Polypane. There's a bunch of ways to make screenshots. The one you just described is what I call the overview screenshot, which is just this make screenshot button here, which screenshots all of them, composites them into this nice layout that has the description or the name that you've given this pane and the actual dimensions. And it opens in a screenshot editor. So if you need to highlight something, like say, this thing needs a border, you can just quickly annotate that.
Nice.
Or maybe like I accidentally, there's my name in here and I don't want that to end up in a Jira ticket somewhere. So I have a redact feature. So I can quickly just redact that and it scrambles the pixels so that you can't reverse engineer it. And now you're done, and you can either like quickly save it or copy it to clipboard. And then copy it to clipboard makes it possible to paste that into Slack, into Jira, into Trello, into Linear, into whatever interface you have that accepts images. So you can even paste it into Twitter or Facebook. And then you just press escape and you're back in your main UI.
And you can also generate a one-shot, full-size screenshot of the different resolutions.
Yeah, so if you right-click, you can do one of all viewports, and then it just saves individual screenshots. of the thing you see right now, or you can do full page screenshots of all of them. You can add a screenshot delay. So for example, if you have something that only appears on hover, then you can add the screenshot delay and then hover the thing so that the screenshot shows that, that pop-up or whatever. And then you can also do that for individual panes, but we have a few extra options there. So we can do an element. So we can say, I want to screenshot just this element, or a measured area, which there's another tool in Polypane that lets you measure areas so that you can figure out if things are aligned or the right size, etc. But then you can use that rectangle that you drew to create a screenshot. You can record a video. So you can do a quick video and that then highlights clicks, so that you can really tell what's going on, or you can really tell what the user is doing. Again, there's a screenshot delay. You can add padding to an element screenshot, because if you're making a screenshot of, for example, this text, you probably want some context, some space around that. So, you can just set additional element padding. So again, there's a bunch of things that you as a developer probably want to do when screenshotting. So we try to make that as easy as possible, instead of you having to screenshot the entire browser, because that's like a one shortcut in macOS, but maybe you only want a specific element. Well, that's now just a single click in Polypane.
Yeah, usually to create the full page screenshots, I go to run command in Chrome and then I capture the full size screenshot. But that would be faster this way. If I'm developing something.
There is the way Polypane creates full size screenshots is different from the way Chrome does it, because the way Chrome does it is kind of broken. Because what Chrome does is it just checks how large or how tall is your web page, and then I'll make a screen that's that tall, and then I'll screenshot that. But if, for example, on my website, I have this header. Oh, and I'll just turn force colors off again because it looks weird. I have this header, but that header has a size that's dependent on the total height of the viewport. So if I drag it down, the header becomes higher or taller. So that means that if they now check how tall is it, and then they resize it, well, now it's taller because the header grew. So I can, in Chrome, you can never make a full page screenshot of this page, because it will never be visible in a single viewport.
And when you create full size screenshot with Polypane of a long page with, let's say, some CSS animations, parallax, and things like that, do you render the page before screenshotting, or?
Yeah, so I do a whole bunch of stuff with animations, making sure parallax effects get triggered, making sure fixed elements are in a logical position instead of repeated throughout your screenshot, to make sure that what you're showing is representative of what people see as they scroll down the page, just in a single large image. Of course, there are websites where that doesn't work. If you have a lot of scroll-driven animation, where a thing moves from left to right as you scroll down, yeah, you can't show an animation in a static screenshot. So that's going to break. But there's no way to do that in a screenshot anyway. So
the only way to do that is to record a video.
Exactly. So we have that feature, and if you want that, record a video.
So the next part maybe is to talk about how it can help you debug some situations, maybe.
Yeah. So I'll just open my own website and go back to that 3-pane view. So there's a bunch of different layouts. I like the horizontal view a lot, but if you have a vertical screen, maybe this is more like your style.
Nice, yes.
But I also use this view a lot, which just looks like a regular browser. Because if I'm working on a website, not all of the bugs I fix or all of the things I build have to do with the visual design. Some are more related to the site structure. So, for example, in this view, I might look at more accessibility focused features. So, for example, here in the outline, I can show an outline of all the headings on my page and make sure that, I have a logical site structure where I don't skip levels or where everything is in H1. Because, if everything is in H1, nothing is in H1. You really want just one of them for your entire page. But I also do other checks, like make sure that we don't accidentally have repeated headings, which are easy to differentiate if you can see, but hard to differentiate if you use, for example, a screen reader, because the word contact is just the word contact. And if you see the word contact in a very large font at the top of the screen and a second one that's in the footer that's just like a small section heading, then you can see that those are different. But if you hear the words heading contact, now you don't know where you are on the page. And that's annoying because then you need to figure out where you are on the page again. So those are the things that Polypane will flag for you. And that means that we go slightly beyond like the minimum of accessibility requirements. So the minimum accessibility requirements is just if you use headings, so you don't even have to use headings, but if you use headings, they need to be logical. They need to make sense for the page. That's all. But of course, that's just the floor. You can stay much more. You can be much more intentional with the way you design your heading structure, because that's really the outline of the page, right?
Yeah, it's also important for SEO purposes because
Yeah.
it's what the crawlers will grab from the page, so it gives them an idea of the structure.
Yeah, there's a very large overlap between building websites well for users regardless of their abilities and building websites well for other computers. So doing something for one or improving something for one almost always improves it for the other as well. So it's really like a general quality aspect of your website. And we do that for headings, but also for landmarks, which are things like header, navigation, footer.
And also the alt tags, I guess, for the images.
So images. So we give an overview of the images, and then we show the alt text. And the Polypane website is a little bit of a bad example because for some reason, all the bugs that Polypane flagged are fixed on this website. I don't know how that happens, but works for me. But yeah, so Polypane will know if an alt text is present, but it's empty because it's been deemed decorative. So that's not an issue. But it will, for example, flag an alt text if it starts with image or if it ends in .png, because then it's probably just a CMS somewhere that added the file location or the file name to the alt text, which isn't helpful. So it tries to figure out all these different ways that an alt text might be filled in but not appropriate, and provide feedback on that as well.
So I guess that if we already project ourselves a bit into the future of web development, something that I would see as an interesting feature, but I don't know if you ever thought about it or if you have already thought about it, is to connect the diagnosis, the reporting from Polypane with your IDE, so to say, so that you can have a dialogue between the two. And especially these days that we have the AI agents, the LLMs at work, then we could say, okay, we've got this those issues in Polypane. The agent has access to the issues and can remediate the issues straight away into the IDE and ask for the validation of the developer. Is it something that you think about?
I've looked into IDE integrations, and for example, you can launch Polypane from VS Code or from WebStorm and have full debugging, just like you can do with other browsers. So that's been set up. That was really interesting to do because Polypane shows your web page in multiple different viewports. So which one do you inspect? Because that's the model like all the other browsers have. Like there's only one version of your page, whereas in Polypane there's multiple. But like deeply integrating into a bunch of different IDEs is a lot of work, and I'm just by myself. So that hasn't been interesting for me to take on as of now. But I can imagine something like an MCP server.
Yeah,
or
that's what I would have said. Yes, maybe Polypane would be exposed as a MCP for the agent.
Yeah.
That can query Polypane and see is there an issue in the code. Yeah.
Exactly. So that could be interesting. I am hesitant when it comes to AI features. Partly because I think like there are ethical and environmental issues that will need to be solved. And I don't want to make those worse before it gets better. And also partly because I don't think they're good enough yet for a product of my size. So right now, Google is experimenting with AI in their DevTools, for example. But like every second sentence, they have to say, don't trust anything the AI says, because it probably is wrong, which Google can get away with. Google will be fine. But if I spend realistically like the next 3 months developing AI features and then launch it and it gets stuff wrong, then devs will just not use it, and I've just wasted 3 months on a feature that doesn't deliver. And there's so many other features that are still waiting to be built that can still help people even without LLMs. So one that I released recently is a form outline. So that parses all the forms on your page and then gives you useful feedback for those. Like, are you using the right buttons? Do all of them have the right name? If they have an autocomplete, did you spell the autocomplete right? Which is a surprisingly common issue. So there's so much that I can still build before doing something like that. Even though, yeah, it totally makes sense that if there's a thing where your IDE can just get all the things you should fix from Polypane, that would be amazing.
Probably the start would be a basic access to the reporting via MCP connection, and then you don't actually manage all the LLM part. It's done inside the IDE with the agent that's being chosen by the user. And you said about validation of form. So we looked at the metadata, the responsiveness, but is there anything related to the JavaScript inspection in Polypane? Something that would tell you, oh, there's something wrong in your JavaScript?
One thing Polypane has is it has the Chromium DevTools that you're used to, but it also ships with its own DevTools. Why did I build my entire own DevTools? Because I don't know any better, but also because I want to make sure that you can edit and inspect across all screen sizes at the same time, which the Polypane Elements panel will let you do. So now you can make changes just like you're used to in other DevTools, but see the result at all screen sizes at the same time. So that saves you a lot of trouble, like trying out stuff only to figure out that you need to try it out again at a different screen size. So we have that for the Elements panel, but we also have a console that works at all panes at the same time. So if I do window dot inner height, you can see that it gave me 3 different values. Oh, right, I need to do documents dot title. The document title is the same for all pages, so it's only repeated once. And you can see here that it logged it in all panes. But the inner height is different for all 3 of these, so it logs these differently. So what will happen is, as you work with JavaScript, as you encounter issues, those will be reported here. And if they are general issues, you can just see them once. And if they're specific to a specific pane, because you have the wrong assumptions about something in that pane, like the different emulation modes that it has, or just the size of things, that will be really easy to figure out using the polypane console.
And regarding the emulation by device, I think you said there would be some trick to be closer to what iOS would require.
Well, so if you look at emulation options in other browsers, they really only look at the browser side of things. So that's things like rendering mode or orientation, or just the user agent. Polypane also makes it really easy to set different platforms, so that goes into user agent data, which is like an entirely new set of emulation modes. But we can also make it really easy to, for example, set the reading direction to right or left aligned. So if you're working on a multilingual page, that is maybe like available in English and in Arabic, then I can read the English fine. But if the entire page suddenly is in Arabic, because we've switched to that, now I have a bad time, because now I don't really know what I'm looking at, because I can't read the words. So in Polypane, I can switch to right to left reading mode, and that will flip all the browser defaults for me. So I didn't do anything on this page to support right to left, except for using logical properties. So for example, this header is a flex layout, so it's laid out from start to end. But in right to left languages, start is at the right.
In an Arabic context, the call to action would be like that at the left.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. I learned something else today.
Yeah, so for example, if we go to the quick start again, then a thing I did here is there is some space between this checkbox and the title. And so if I inspect that, you can see that it's a margin, because that's the yellow part. And you can also see that in the tooltip, where there's an 8 pix margin. So that's on the right of the SVG. By the way, I can inspect this just by holding down Alt. So I don't have to go to the elements panel and then click the thing and then move back and maybe lose my place in...
Yeah. You have direct access to the elements in the browser.
Yeah. So this is to the right, but now if I switch to right to left, you can see that there's still space, because now the margin is on the left. And that's because I thought about this, and instead of using margin right, I've used margin in line end, which is a logical margin property that doesn't do like to the right or to the end or to the left, but whatever is like the end part of your element. So if it goes from right to left, it's on the left, and if it goes from left to right, it's on the right. So I've now been able to fix this issue without actually having to do anything special for Arabic, but it made it really easy for me to figure out that this issue was there, because previously it looked like this. which isn't great. And now I fixed it. And now if I do ever like translate this page, I know that it'll just work. So it's stuff like that. And then also like page language, browser locale, which will affect how date parsing happens on your page. Your default font size, which can be different across operating systems. And if you don't set your own font size, that's what you get. So there's a bunch more options, also with like network settings. You can set custom headers. You can do different sessions. So you can have the same page side by side, but then one is you logged in as a regular user and one is you logged in as an admin user. And now you can test both of those at the same time instead of, logging in for one, doing the test, logging out, then logging in for the other and doing the test again.
Yeah, also
which
checking
again,
if you didn't forget to protect an admin page as a normal
exactly.
user.
So that makes it, doing that side by side makes it really easy and really efficient. And it takes away all the annoying parts, which is like, okay, let me get the admin login and it sent me back to the dashboard and now I need to click into what, all the annoying stuff that we all know when we're doing like website testing. I try to make that as easy and as painless as possible.
Is it a unique offering on the market, what you offer with Polypane, or do you have any close or not so close competitors offering the same kind of things?
There are aspects of Polypane that are in other tools. So, the multiple screen size thing, a bunch of tools do those.
And what is your very specific angle, the thing that makes you stand out from those tools?
Yeah, so what usually happens with other tools is that they get built and then they get abandoned. And that means that by the time you get to them, they use a version of Chrome that's a year old. Chrome releases a new major version every month. Chrome releases security fixes like once a week. So that means that you have a year's worth of security issues on your desktop. Polypane is always at either the current version or at most 2 versions behind. And those versions still get security patches by Google, so Polypane does as well. But what makes Polypane unique is all the different ways that you can inspect your page. So it's not just you can see your page at multiple screen sizes. It's you actually interact with all of them at the same time, from clicking and typing all the way to hover effects. So you can even test those without having to do it multiple times. And then all the different ways you get insight into your page, from the accessibility angle, the meta viewport angle. There's even automatic HTML validation if that's something you care about. It's all just built into Polypane. So regardless of the tool you need, and again, like there's a million different tools, and I don't want to go into all of them, but for example, we also collect Web Vitals information automatically, and we compare that to Crux data. So if I go to polypane.app, I can see that the CLS is good for 89% of my visitors worldwide for desktop. And then for mobile, because it knows this pane is mobile size, it gets different data, and it knows that 92% have a good cumulative layout shift experience. So I'm doing pretty well when it comes to Web Vitals. But there's also a fully featured color picker in Polypane that makes it really easy to check different colors. There's 40 different debug tools and simulators. So for example, if you have some bugs where things are in front of other things, I have this stacking context view that creates a 3D map of your web page.
That's cool.
So you can instantly see like where things are in comparison to each other in the Z direction.
For the Z
there is a grid overlay. So if you work with a grid system or a column system where you have, let's do fluid. Let's say we have a 12 column grid with an 8-pix gutter. Now I have a grid overlay.
How long did it take to develop this thing?
Well, so I've been working on it for a decade now, but
Wow.
I've been working on it full time for the past 6 years.
Wow. And you're on it like you would say 40 hours a
Yeah,
week?
yeah. So I do take weekends off,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah,
It's a
this is
massive
my full time
project.
job. Yeah.
It's a massive project. And you don't have any other app on the side. It's your one
I
and only app.
No, I have a bunch of other tools. So if we just open the browse panel, because what's
You can
better
also
than
browse.
yeah, adding a little browser into your browser. The idea here being that this is where you open MDN and Stack Overflow and ChatGPT, and then you're not switching back and forth between tabs because that's
Yes.
context switching. Context switching is bad, but this just lives to the side. But like I have another tool called superposition.design, which also parses your entire website, but then it gets all the design tokens. So things like colors, your typography, your border radiuses, the way your shadows look, the spacing formula that you use, or the set of spacings that you use. And then you can export that to CSS, to SAS, to Adobe XD when it existed, and to Figma. So you can open Superposition and you can open the Figma Superposition plugin. And then in Figma, you can directly use all the colors that you use on your website.
And can you also do it for the website of other people to just have a look
So
at their
it's just
design
any
system?
website you open.
Okay.
So the idea is that there's a lot of people that don't have a design system, but they do have a website, and that website is built to a certain style. So the website secretly is a design system. It's just a really poor version of a design system. So why not try to extract that information into a usable format,
Nice.
and then let you use that on the web?
That's also a premium product?
No, this is a free product, so you can
Okay,
just
so this
download
is
this and use it for free.
This one I will also get it because it's nice if you want to have some inspiration from
That
other
too.
design systems.
Yeah. So
that's
if you
cool.
want to have
Superposition. I will add it to the show notes. Superposition.
Another one is fixally.com, which is in Polypane. I've built a lot of tools around contrast checking, and one of them will parse your site, and if it finds issues with color contrast, where contrast is too low, it will figure out the nearest color, the nearest same color to the color you've chosen for the text, and suggest that for you. So if you're developing a website and you have a contrast issue, Polypane just goes, here's the color you should use. That's still in your design. So that saves a bunch of time. But that same logic I can just use in a browser extension, which again is free for all of these except for Safari, because building browser extensions for Safari is a massive pain. So I'm just being too lazy to do that. And now you can just turn that on. So here's a text that doesn't have enough contrast. You turn on the plugin and it just fixes the text for you. So if you compare that to the forced color mode that you just saw, which just like removes all the style of your web page, like that might be useful for people, but most people probably don't want that. They want your design. They want to use the website as you intended. They just want to be able to read it, right? So this is what fix contrast does. And the idea here is to keep developing like small browser extensions based on stuff I built for Polypane to just fix stuff in general browsing.
I guess it's also a good way for you to attract the attention to Polypane if people want to.
I mean, of course.
Yeah. to dive deeper into their workflow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very, very, very nice. I mean, we could spend hours talking about
Yeah,
this
I mean,
because it's
I
just the
have
tip
more.
of the iceberg. It's just the tip of the iceberg.
Let me do one more.
One more.
Because that's the one I just launched. So Polypane has a form inspector built in, and that can do a lot because it has access to entire context of your page. But if you don't use Polypane, one, what are you doing? But two, you can go to the HTML form inspector on the Polypane website, and then you can just paste in your HTML or try out one of these, and it will give you sort of a similar overview, and it will tell you like, okay, so you have a form, but there's no action. That's not necessarily a problem because that will submit to the current page. There's an input. It has a label, so there is a label. That's good. It has additional details. There's buttons. There's one that's a submit, so that's good as well. But then maybe you have like a more complex form where you also have a bunch of field sets. So you can see here, oh, by default, computer science is checked. Do I want that? Like, this is my HTML. Do I want this behavior? Or maybe there's something missing, like something is required, but it shouldn't be. Or maybe you have a reset button, which is super annoying for users because they might accidentally click it and then, everything they filled in is gone. So again, free tool, just paste in your HTML. It all gets parsed client side because I'm too lazy to have a server running. So the entire site is static. So you don't have to worry about sending your HTML to me because you literally can't. It's just HTML pages. But it's another free useful tool.
Yeah, and there's definitely probably other opportunities for pages like that for you because it's a free tool, so it's good also for SEO, HTML form inspector.
Yeah, I mean, I have more, but
Yeah. I see you have other ones. That's really cool. And just to tell you a bit more about my journey, so I started coding quite late. Was 48. I'm 51. I started just before the LLM craze, just before the advent of ChatGPT, and I've been coding, to be honest with you, with AI a lot since late 2022. But I can see a tool like this being very useful for everyone that is coding with AI today because it doesn't matter how you code. If you code old school, if you write all your lines, or if you're using an AI assistant, but you need to make it right to have the best execution possible for all the screens. So there's definitely a good investment for anyone coding in a way or another to go to polypane.app. And as I said, for an individual, it's less than 100 pounds a year. So you will just, get it back with less than 1 hour of a good job in a tier 1 country. So definitely a good investment.
If you want to make that calculation for yourself, I also have that tool.
Okay, you started at 60 per hour, which is it depends. It depends on where you are.
I built this page a couple of years ago. I might need to update it again. But it
depends on the countries. I mean,
it's a wide world. But this is the one I like best. So how would you describe yourself? Like, are you a realist? And I have like testimonials that match your experience. If you're an optimist, I have testimonials that match that experience. If you're an extreme optimist, that will help you work 5 times as fast, like this person. And you can read about their experience here.
As we can see here, even with a non-AI tool, you can enhance your productivity by orders of magnitude. So yes, and if you couple that with the power of what we have today, you be the best. So thank you so much for your time. So we will go to polypane.app to discover the product. And best of luck for the demo day. I'm pretty sure I've got a good intuition for that. I think with all the work that you have invested into your product and the way it's executed, it will just blow the mind of the people watching the finals
I hope so.
of the paddle launchpad next week.
I have good competition. There are really cool companies in this round, so it's been a lot of fun seeing them.
And
grow as well.
Being part of the core, and great people at paddle. I must say, I'm in London. I see them very often. So very, very good crowd. Very nice people.
Yeah,
there, and
definitely
their product
agree.
is really cool. Also, thank you so much for your time, Kilian.
My pleasure.
And yes, if you have any questions, you can reach Kilian directly. And I will also share if there are any comments in the YouTube video. I will share them with Kilian. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Here is a short bonus. During the conversation with my guest, Kilian Valkhof, we didn't have the time to talk about this feature of Polypane called Portal. Portal enables you to test your website on other browsers, on other devices that will be synced with Polypane. When you test your site, for instance, on a smartphone, as you can see here on the screen. So that's a way to address the question of people who wanted to have potentially other rendering engines than Chromium inside of Polypane. That would be very difficult to do because as Kilian told me after the recording, you wouldn't be anyways able to run Safari on a Linux computer, for instance. That would be very difficult. So the way to address this, the way to approach this is to use the portal feature of Polypane. You will just get a URL that will run on some headless browser in the cloud that you can even share with your client or with one of your colleagues, and they will be able to open the website on another device, and anything that you do inside of Polypane is immediately synced with the device connected via this URL that you get from the portal feature. So I wanted to just mention that as the last feature that we didn't have the time to explore during our chat. Thanks again to Kilian for taking the time to show us around in this app that he has been developing now for approximately a decade and very intensively for the last 6 years. And we wish him the best. We wish him the best for the contest, the Paddle Launchpad. You can sign up on Paddle website to support him and to see the other finalists of the demo day that will take place on August the 7th at 4 p.m. London time. Go to Paddle's website to register. And thanks again to Kilian.